Our next presenter is Crystal Ramirez. Crystal Ramirez is a natural resource specialist with the Drinking Water Technical Review Team in the Drinking Water Special Functions section. She has a bachelor's degree in environmental science from the University of Texas at San Antonio and specialized in natural resource and wildlife management. Crystal has worked with TCEQ since 2022 in the Right to Know program, working with consumer confidence reports. She assists community water systems and wholesale providers complete their CCRs in accordance with the Safe Drinking Water Act and TAC 290-272. Helen from the great city of Corpus Christi, please welcome Crystal Ramirez.
Hi, thank you. It's good to see everyone again. I was here last year, so I got to see the crowd last year, but it's good to be back. I think this is the most beautiful room in all of the hotels, so I'm glad to be in here again. We're going to start out this presentation. We do have some pretty important points that we're going to go over, but the presentation will have some QR codes on the top right. So if you wanted to have your camera phones out, just so we can go through the websites together. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay. Just so you can have the resource right there in front of you. We'll have those. And then towards the very end of the presentation, if y'all want to stick around, we, for the first time, voted for the best CCR of the season this year. So at the end, we're going to announce the best CCR that we came across for 2023. So we'll announce that winner towards the end. Just some background information, the CCR is part of the Safe Drinking Water Act of CIDWA's Right to Know provision. So this is just basically saying customers have a right to know what happened about their water, and it's a good step for water systems to provide transparency and communication to build trust with your customers as a water system. This is applicable to only active community water systems for a complete calendar year. So if you are non-transient, non-community, then you're just here for fun. This is not applicable to you. If you were inactive December 31st, that does not make you active for a complete calendar year, so this will not be applicable to you. You have to be active from January 1st to December 31st for the CCR to be applicable to you as a community water system. Community being 15 active connections to the same 25 individuals for at least 60 days out of the calendar year, to be specific. This CCR is due every July 1st annually to customers and to TCEQ. And wholesale providers, just some background information on that. Wholesale providers who have an active receiving system, those water quality data information is due to those receiving systems by April 1st of each year. And then May 1st is when you submit a provider certificate of delivery to TCEQ saying, you gave all your water quality data to that receiving system, here's a piece of paper, we certified we did this, and then that will clear out for that requirement for wholesale providers. And we do have these free resources I wanted to mention, our CCR generator that we know and love. We try to update this every year. I want to say around March timeframe is when it gets updated with the previous year's information. So that is available to you. And the CCR webpage, which we'll actually go over here in a little bit in the coming slides. And then, of course, Texas Drinking Water Watch. We actually give this out to the general public as well for any live water quality data. The generator will only give you so much information for the previous monitoring year. Drinking Water Watch is more of that live reflection where you'll see current year results versus only 2023 or the previous year data results. And then, of course, the PWS CCR email address. That's myself, sometimes Christy with Public Notice, and the rest of our Right to Know provision team, as well as some interns that we get during this summer. All right, so more about the CCR webpage. This webpage does get updated every year. It includes some step-by-step report instructions with a guided tutorial video. We actually worked on making some quick jump links on a YouTube video. So if you just have a question about, do I need to directly deliver my CCR based off this population, you can go to the YouTube video, click direct delivery requirements on the drop-down box under the YouTube video that says more, and it'll take you straight to that answer. It's about a 24, 26-minute video, I believe, but it's a pretty good resource that we have for you for there. And then we do have as well links to the generator, Drinking Water Watch, and the regional office as well. Regulation documents are going to be your TAC 290 code .272, and then your 40 CFR if you wanted some specific health language that you would need for example, level 1 or 2 assessments. You can find that there, or the 40 CFR webpage documents there as well. And then as well as purpose and background information on consumer confidence reports in general and what the safe drinking water was as it historically was, and things like that. So more about the CCR generator. It's a great starting point to draft your CCR. It's not the final report where you can put a ribbon on it, email it to us, give it to your customers. There are some things that you would need to include. For example, the generator only includes detected contaminant results. So when I say detected, I mean if there are, let's say, lead and copper, you see lead results this year, you did not see lead last year, it could be that your lead results were below minimum reporting levels, so it's not going to show on your CCR, on your generated report. You can manually include a line that says, we did monitor for lead, it was just below minimum reporting levels, so that way you can at least have that clarification to customers that that was monitored for, you just didn't have any results. So it will only include detected contaminant results, as well as valid violations. Like I said, since the generator gets updated around March, April of each year, if you were to get a valid violation, let's say in May for the previous year, it may not show on your CCR, on your generated CCR. So that's something where it requires like extra verification that you would need to make sure that you're up to date on your violations, make sure that's accurate so you're not giving out misinformation to your customers. Same thing goes for if you got a violation reversed or rejected in May, June, that can potentially get removed from your violation list because March, April timeframe, when we take a screenshot of all of the systems at one time, it will not show those changes that are made after. Another thing that's included is any health language that's required for all community water systems. So this is information like lead information, your cryptosporidium health statement, any microbial contaminant information. This is not going to include, going on to like the right side where it says not included here, your secondary exceedances health language, such as elevated arsenic levels. Like if you are above 5 but below 10, you're not violating the MCL, so there's not going to be any specific health language at that point, but there is health language you would manually have to include since you do have those elevated levels that the generator is not able to provide. Provider data, this is another thing that the generator does not include. If you have a active permanent water connection, it will not include your provider's water quality data. So this goes back to wholesale providers giving us that provider certificate of delivery form. Your wholesalers should be giving you water quality data every April 1st. That's what you put into your CCR manually. May 1st is when they tell us that they did that, and that's where I was saying that that's due from wholesalers, but that's a provider data that is not included there. UCMR 5, we're going to go more into detail about this in just a second. UCMR 5 is currently monitored by the EPA. So monitoring for UCMR 5 began in 2023, and it's going to go until 2025. We started having it as a requirement for the CCR this year, and that was where we only required the average and the range for UCMR 5. No specific health language in particular. There is a public notice, which we'll also get to in the next slides, that just says, we have UCMR 5 results. Let us know if you'd like to see them. It's a very short and sweet public notice compared to the other public notices you've seen with like more specific health information. So that's some information about that. Level 1 and level 2 assessment. If you conducted a level 1 or 2 assessment, there are 2 paragraphs that need to be manually included. When you do the CCR generator, your total coliform results will show on your data table results. But if you conducted a level 1 assessment, then you would need to include 2 health paragraphs. One of them explains what coliform bacteria is. The other one is just saying their corrective actions that you took and things like that. So that's something that the generator does not include. And then, of course, your disinfectant information. Everyone has their own disinfectant, like free chlorine, total chlorine, chloramines. So that needs to be manually inputted, and then as well as your contact information. So verification is necessary. That's why we always stress, like when you generate the report, you can't just email it to us and then you're good to go. There's a lot of things that you should be double checking for that. The most commonly missed items are going to be the source water that's in the top left of the first page usually. So this is going to be like the name of the aquifer, the reservoir, or the river, and then the county or the city that that's located in. And then the Spanish statement, there needs to be a phone number in that Spanish statement. Even if it's the same phone number, it has to be put in 2 places. We manually check to make sure that this is included specifically for that Spanish statement. Disinfectant residue on the right side, the name is going to go in that first column. So like I said, free chlorine, total chlorine, chloramines, things like that. And then lastly, if you have any active permanent connection that's a community water system, you're going to see this bracket statement here that says insert a table containing any contaminant information, blah, blah, blah. This is when I would recommend to be familiar with your sample schedules, because you can see this statement here, but you don't necessarily have to include provider data every single time. If you only monitor for nitrate, asbestos, it's very limited, you only monitor for 3 or 4 things, then yes, that's when you would need to include that provider data. If you see this and you monitor for barium, fluoride, arsenic, all those other things, then you can disregard, because it's just saying you have an active permanent connection. There needs to be more data. So your data alone would be fine if you have that full sample schedule. We'll show you on Drinking Water Watch how you can verify your sample schedules. And if you're ever confused, you can always ask me, and I'm the one who you talk to mainly. So more than happy to help you guys. So UCMR 5, this is the CCR requirement where you do have to include results above those minimum reporting levels. And there's a QR code on that top right. This will take you to the EPA's website of this data finder. I believe the EPA gave you another platform that water systems can use, but this is the one that I found was most helpful for systems to explain to customers. And this is also one that I guess the public can use as water system customers. But if you scan the QR code, it'll take you to the EPA's website of UCMR 5, the background information of UCMR 5. Towards the very end of that webpage at the bottom is the EPA data finder. That's where you can filter your your PWS number, I think you have to type TX, your system number. I recommend doing results greater than MRL, so you can filter only the things that you need to put into your report, so that way you're not looking at other data that doesn't even need to be in there. That's just a Y or an N for yes or no. Click yes, hit the green check mark, and then that will show you all of your reportable results that are above a minimum reporting level that needs to be in the CCR. As I said, there is a public notice with this UCMR 5 data. That is the public notice on the bottom right. So it's very short and sweet. It just says, we have UCMR 5 results. Let us know if you'd like to see them. And then this is also a tier 3. So from December 31st, 2023, you have until December 31st of 2024 to notify your customers that you do have UCMR 5 results. You can include a public notice with your CCR, since that's already going out and it's tier 3, as you can include a tier 2 and usually tier 3 public notices anyways with your CCR. If you do include a public notice with your CCR, you can use the same certificate of delivery that you would normally for your CCR. Check the box towards the bottom that says you have a PN included, and then we'll send that to our public notice team for their review. Does that make sense? I know the public notices can always be a little tricky, but. And more about public notices within the CCR. When you generate the CCR, at the very end of the report, it's going to give you a violation list. That is not a public notice, just because it has the violation explanation and dates and background information of the violation. Each public notice will have its own set of health language per the contaminant that it's in violation for. So don't depend on the violation list at the end of your CCR as the public notice, because there's a lot more information that is included normally with the public notice that needs to get out to your customers. These each have their own due dates. So if you're ever unsure of the type of public notice you need to include, give me a call and I can walk you through it. Our PN website will have all of the templates that you can use. And I recommend doing Control F and just searching the contaminant name or the analyte code or something along those lines. So that way you can find the specific one that you need, and you can just print it out, fill it out, staple it to the back of your CCR, and then give it to us. So you finish drafting your CCR. You have everything put together. You can do 2 things. You can give out your CCR to your customers and then just send us a certificate of delivery, or you can email it to us, me specifically, and just say, can you give this a review? I want to make sure this is good before we send this out. We're always more than happy to review anything before it goes out, especially with UCMR 5 that goes out that's new and everything. So you're more than welcome to email drafts of your report, even as you update them. And we're here to help you at any point. So delivery options to customers. I put original in the subject line just to kind of make a point on the next slide that I'm going to show you. For small populations, and when I say small, I mean 500 individuals, they are required to do a primary and a good faith delivery method. For larger systems, when I say large, I mean above 500 individuals, not connections, they are required to do a direct and a good faith requirement. In general, for the CCR delivery methods, primary methods will include a mailed option, an emailed option, or some other direct delivery. If you're a small system under 500, in lieu of doing one of these primary delivery methods, you can just state your availability of the CCR. So that's kind of how we changed the form this year. If you're familiar with how the how the certificates of delivery looked in the past, we kind of structured the check boxes a little bit different. So that way it's more clear for smaller systems that you do have a primary delivery method that you have to give availability of the CCR, but you also need to complete a good faith requirement so those customers can know where they can go get that water quality report. And the QR code on the right side will take you to the EPA's memorandum that they put out in 2013. That specifically will go over direct delivery requirements. If you post a CCR online, this is going to give you detailed instructions on what exactly is direct delivery, electronic direct delivery to be exact. So just because you put the link to your home utility page on your water bills, that is not considered direct. You would need to put the exact document link where it's a bunch of letters and numbers. That needs to go on the bills for it to be considered direct, electronic direct delivery. So CCR-RR, Consumer Confidence Report Rule Revisions. It was proposed in 2022, released earlier this year. It was finally published shortly after. This will go into compliance in 2027. So this is not going to be applicable until your 2026 CCR. So I want to put everyone at ease. You are good for this year. Well, this year, meaning if you turn it in, it might be late. Next year, and then 2026 is when it will go into effect. The main objectives for this is we just want to improve the frequency of delivery and updating those delivery methods. So that's going to be your biannual delivery, your lowered online posting threshold, and then also improving the readability, the understandability, clarity, and then improving accuracy of information and that risk communication. This is the intent of the rule. This is also, as we're moving into the new rule, when we start to see submissions, we're going to be flexible with how we're going to kind of see that come in and what that's going to look like. So more to come on that. For all systems, though, the main objectives are new definitions, a contaminant data section. This will give you some creativity modes to see how you would like to present your water quality results in your report. So that's kind of some more flexibility you can have in your CCR. Requirements for your lead action levels, corrosion control language, and then revised health statements, specifically for arsenic and nitrate, I believe. And more about the report summary. This is going to describe the nature of the report. It's going to have a violation summary, contact information, option to request a paper copy, translation resources, notice the S for multiple translation resources, a public notice statement if it's applicable, and then required please share language. This is new. More information is going to be pulled towards the front. So let's say you weren't able to monitor for a whole year. That's like 14 pages of violations. We're not trying to have 14 pages of violations at the front of the CCR. It's going to be a very hard to read CCR. So with that, that's what I meant by we're going to see how we can be flexible with how we're going to structure that first part. But this is the intent with the CCR-RR. For large systems, I'm going to start from that right side. Populations above 10,000, you're going to have that biannual reporting requirement. Moving up to 50,000 population, you'll have electronic posting requirement. And then 100,000 and up, you'll have a language access plan requirement. 100,000 and up, you'll have all three requirements. This is for 2026. LCRR, so in 2025, it's just saying you will include your lead service line inventory in the CCR. This pertains to including a statement that just regards the lead service line inventory data and how it can be publicly found. So yeah, in summary, any updated forms, information, deadlines, we're always going to post that online. We update our CCR page every year with the latest forms. CCR-RR will be applicable in 2026 So this is going to be the one that's due 2027, July 1st. And LCRR will be applicable in the 2024 monitoring year for 2025 due date. And then public notices have separate requirements. Don't depend on that violation list at the end of your generated CCR to take care of your public notice. And the CCR generator is a starting point. There's lots of areas that you need to manually fill in for this. We do have an option for you to sign up as a courtesy reminder contact. This is, if you already know, we've already emailed you a couple times. One, you should have gotten an email around March, April saying CCR is coming up, you need to turn something in. And if you did turn something in, we reach out to this email and say, something's wrong with your report, please email us, call us. Usually in the email, we'll say what's wrong with the report as well. So if you would like to make sure you're getting those emails, just email us and say, this is the email I'd like to sign up as a courtesy reminder contact, and then you'll get those. Formal letters will still be mailed out for violations and formal things. Emails are just for informal reminders and inadequate outreach. We do have the winner of our CCR season. Well, I do know the winner by heart because this was the first CCR review that we did. And the winner was Jonestown Water Supply. I know the first three numbers, it was 155. So if anyone from Jonestown Water Supply, I believe Stephen, our section manager, reached out to you. And we made an award certificate that we will most likely email you so you can have. But moving forward, we wanted to start doing these reviewed CCRs so that way systems can get recognition of all the hard work that you do and provide to your customers. And these are also reports that were voted for by our section management and our 4 interns that we do have during the summers. This is a good report to look at, especially for upcoming changes. Like this is a type of system that included pictures of their water system and their staff, watering times, sprinkling times, resources, links to EPA stuff on their website. So it was a really good report that included all of their water quality data and everything like that. So yeah, congratulations to Jonestown Water Supply. Thank y'all so much. Yeah. And I can open it up to any questions if y'all have any. UCMR 5 PN will have a tier 3, meaning 1 year public notice needs to go out. So yeah, the one that's, yes, you can put a tier 3 public notice with your CCR. So if you still haven't done like this year's CCR, you can do your CCR, include the UCMR 5 results, average and range, and then the public notice is just that short template. Staple it to the back, give it to us when you give us your CCR, and that'll resolve both things. Anytime from January 1st to July 31st. You could technically do it February 1st, but if you have any changes from February to July of when it's due, then you'd have to redistribute, if that makes sense. So it's recommended, I would say, to do it closer to that second time frame, so that way you're getting all of the accurate data. There's no changes that need to be made, but that's something that we'll see. I'll be interested in seeing how that's going to work with biannual delivery. They have been finalized by the EPA. That's the due date, though. Like the due date for CCR is July 1st. You can turn in a CCR anytime from January 1st to July 1st, technically. Biannual delivery date has been put out by the EPA. You're not gonna have 3 due dates. You're gonna have the 2 due dates. Yeah, you're not gonna have like 2 for the EPA and then 1 for TCQ. Not until 2026. So you don't gotta worry about this until we're gonna have another presentation most likely in the coming years. After hearing some discussions like the talks that we had earlier, especially with Leslie, lead service line inventory, I personally would recommend to save you the money. If you're over 500 and you have a direct delivery requirement, just post your CCR online and put the link to the bills that go out to your customers, because that will take care of direct delivery and your good faith delivery, and that's it. Any changes that need to be done after, you can just repost the updated CCR online and you won't have to worry about redistributing. So that's just my personal recommendation. Yes. The only thing that you need to be worried about for next year's CCR submission, to repeat your question, is to include any UCMR5 results above the MRL in the average and range format if you have multiple results for different contaminants, and that public notice, that's a tier 3, 1 year due date. So you would have until December 31st of 2026 to give that out. She's saying if you want to include your public notice with the online version of the CCR, you can definitely do that to take care of your CCR requirement and your PN requirement, and then just make sure to check off that public notice checkbox on your certificate of delivery, so that way we know it's up there. We can get that requirement closed out.
Just had a quick question. Will the updated language be included on the generator report, or where on the TCEQ website will that be?
We are working on it. We have been in a love-hate relationship with this generator. It is my nemesis. So we have been trying to make sure that any secondary level exceedances that you don't have to worry about including language, but we're hoping to eventually move to a generator that does include all secondary health language and all EPA required health language that you would need. So yeah, we're currently looking at other states to see what they're doing. So it's definitely a resource that we want to make better for you all. So that way it's just like a one and done, click run, give it to your customers, and then that'll be good to go. Eventually, yes, it will have language.
Can we circle back to there was a slide that had 3 things for over a population of 100,000. Yeah, okay. So as the electronic posting, I missed it. What is a language access plan?
That is going to be where you would provide a completely translated copy of your CCR in other languages. So I think that is, of course, more for the larger systems, but we're going to get more into specifics in the next CCR presentation, probably the following year, to have more detailed information on that. But just to prepare you, if you're over 100,000, you're going to have a language access requirement for this.
While we're on this slide, just so I understand, where it says 10,000 population, does that mean 0 to 10,000 we're going to biannual, and then 10 to 50? Or is that over 10,000, over 50,000?
Over 10,000. Over 10,000 and up, you'll have a biannual reporting. 50,000 and up, electronic posting. I'm sorry, yeah, that dash does kind of look like a minus sign. Yes, 50,000 and up, electronic posting, and then 100K and up, you'll have that requirement.
I mean, I've always just copied that directly off of the generator. So if we're not supposed to put that, I guess the explanation of it, what are we supposed to put there?
If you're trying to include a public notice, then that's when you would have that additional language. But if you're just generating your CCR, you don't need to change anything. You shouldn't be changing anything for your violations or explanations or health language.
Okay. Well, I would have already done a public notice if I,
But you can
If you
put a
had that
public
requirement.
notice in your CCR, but we're telling you if you do, that those violation tables don't have all the language. They don't have all the mandatory
If you don't have a public notice, then your violations should be valid if you have any, so you don't need to worry about changing anything or updating them. It's when you want to include like a public notice that you have an additional form to fill out if you wanted to include a public notice with your CCR. You don't have to do that because you can give out the public notice anytime, really. Tier 3, sometimes tier 2 public notices, that's where you have the option to include it with your CCR if you want. It's not required.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank y'all so much. Have a great rest of the day.